It's time for America's #1 new podcast, The Reality Check. These guys believe reality is the truth as they see it. The Reality Check. Now, here's your host, Mike Scully.
Well, hello again, America. We are back at it after the Thanksgiving holiday. And today I have got some great surprises for you. I have my two stalwarts. The one, the man, the myth, the only, from Free Shoes, I can't say it anymore, Florida State University, my man, John J. Nick Nicolosi.
I am loving Jameis Winston right now in fantasy. Holy crap.
Love it.
Representing.
And then representing his Yoda knowledge, the man, C. Nick, Carl Nicolosi.
Happy to be back, boys. Happy to be back.
And we brought him back, our man, the Hebrew Hammer. Elliot, what do you say, my brother?
Thanks for letting me join you guys again. It was a good time last time. We'll have a good time today.
Thanks for being in studio. And this goes way back to a prediction of Florida State winning the national championship. The one and only Mark King is back to have a little recourse from his earlier picks in the year. What do you say, Kinger?
It only took you 3 seconds to mention that, by the way. Very, very quick on the draw there. You should have just let that go for a little while.
Yeah, but look at the screen right now.
Look at that. Look at that guy.
My guys, my man with the sexy
leave
cologne.
my Ireland
cohort
friend alone. He took care of me in Ireland.
I definitely took care of Johnny in Ireland. No doubt
and then
Bodyguard.
from about 1,500 miles away, sitting in front of a $100 slot machine, our man Trick is up there in Milwaukee, getting ready for Milwaukee. What do we do? They're going to the Marquette game. What do you say, Tricky?
How are you, boys? It is good to be with you, even if I'm not physically with you. I got a Tito's and a dip. I'm happy as a clam.
All right, bro.
Hey, Trick, Mikey Bynum needs some doctoring up from you, man. He's hurting.
I offered it to him, but he denied me before I left, so he's got to wait till Sunday now, poor bastard.
Hey,
scared.
Trick Daddy loves the kids.
Trick, put a hundo on number 17 on roulette.
I'll do it after it hits.
Attaboy.
In true form.
And then to all of our large female audience, we apologize, but the big angry, the one and only Shooter, owner of Shooter's Bar and Grill, he is a Black Hawk down today. We have lost him coming out of the Thanksgiving holiday. We're going to have to try to find him. He'll be back hopefully next week with us.
He's angry, my
too much
friend.
tryptophan.
He's angry.
Yeah.
Too angry to show up.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we've got a lot going on in the world right now from a sports standpoint, but I'm going to delve in. It seems that we may have hit some nerves the last couple of weeks for the first time that we've actually discussed politics on this show. Give me some vision on what do you think's going on. Yeah, imagine that. Touch the nerve. Well, I'm going to jump right in with both feet. Do you think my boy Pete Hegseth survives as the SecDef nominee?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
You boys don't think so?
Nope.
All right. He's on his third marriage.
I think he does.
He's on his third marriage. All right. He's got 7 kids, and he's sporting a tattoo on his bicep that is, I don't even know how to pronounce this.
It's we the people.
It's a white supremacist. That's what I heard. A white supremacist tattoo. Far
It
right.
says we the people for the Constitution.
I do not believe it's a white supremacist tattoo.
All right.
I can't tell you what the tattoo is. I do not believe it is a white supremacist tattoo.
Well, that's why you can never trust media,
Exactly.
right?
What
However,
are you
just-
spreading rumors?
Well, there
I'm
you
just
go.
saying,
Dose.
there it is.
However,
Dose Volt is what it is.
doesn't matter what his tattoo says. Tattoo good, tattoo bad, doesn't matter.
Bad husband, right? He's a bad husband.
Bad husband, good
Right,
husband,
okay.
doesn't matter. Trump's on third marriage. There's plenty of people that have been on their 18th marriage and have plenty of kids. Doesn't matter.
I mean,
Doesn't matter.
men suck. I mean, let's
But here's the thing.
I love to have a beer with that guy in a bar, right? But
To run it, the budget for the Pentagon is how many billions of dollars a year? 900,000 employees.
Probably trillions.
I get the purpose of shaking up things. I get one to, break up the bureaucracy. If you had put him in the number 2 or number 3 position, he still could have taken a chainsaw to that entire place. But to put him at number 1, here's my question. Did anybody in the Trump world vet him at all?
Well, the question I have for you, I'm going to play counterpoint with you here for a second, Elliot. What qualifications did Lloyd Austin have? What qualifications did the two gentlemen who act like women have that got passed through our illustrious Senate?
We're not talking about
Yeah,
we're not talking about any cabinet position.
But whataboutism you can't really play that game. If Trump's all about putting the best people in the best place, then you got to pick the best people. So is DeSantis right for that job? And I think.
But why isn't Hegseth?
I think what Elliot said. He's a good number 2.
He's got 2 Bronze Stars. He's led people.
Minnesota National Guard.
Minnesota National Guard.
But did he lead, and again, as a non-military person, to understand all of the different ranks? How big did he manage a company? Did he manage a full battalion? How big of yes, did he manage people? Absolutely. If I go from managing my local, Mark King here started, and as did Patrick with the enterprise branch.
Right.
You manage an enterprise branch, even you manage a region. That's great. Doesn't make you CEO next. You get promoted somewhat up the chain. You need to be able to manage a large enough budget, a large enough team, a large enough system. I don't know that Hegseth got big enough, high enough. Now, I don't know enough about Lloyd Austin to say, did he manage a big enough group and high enough to then be promoted there? Now, the other people that you mentioned in the cabinet that, however they dress, whatever they identify as, totally different. I think Secretary of Defense, whole different animal.
There is no comparison between Hegseth and DeSantis. He's ran the state of Florida. He's in government.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. Johnny, I'm not disagreeing with DeSantis being the choice.
Zero experience when it comes to, running government bureaucracies and so forth and so on.
Whereas DeSantis had to deal with COVID.
Yeah,
he really had to deal with quite a bit.
He's the guy. Yeah. I mean, he's been great for Florida.
You have to look at moral character. You have to look at moral character as well. Okay, and you have to question.
But Carl, I will pump the brakes this week in particular about moral character.
Yeah,
because we just got done. Every Democrat screaming about moral behavior. And we are better than the Republicans, and we are the moral party of morality, and no person's above the law. And then they threw it all out the window.
Yeah. And nobody's hands are clean ever. So screw the moral character. What it is who's got the best chops to run the job, and it's DeSantis over Hegseth.
But why would DeSantis give up running the state of Florida for that job?
I don't want him to go. I mean,
I don't think anybody wants him to go
because he gets tapped.
Gentlemen, may I jump in and tell you why? Because he's in the cabinet. He's relevant, and he's able to run in 2028 when Trump's out.
I was just going to bring that point up.
He can run in 2028. Yeah. He can run already. He's leading one of the largest economies. I mean, the state of Florida is one of the largest. Now, the Department of Defense, much, much, much bigger than the state of Florida from a budgetary standpoint. But to still be able to impact the state of Florida and make those changes and continue to prove as someone that your political chops in that, you go to the Department of Defense, you're not adding to your political chops.
And he disappears a little bit, I believe, from the political landscape to be able to run again.
He won't be standing in front of a microphone as much as he does as the governor, obviously, with how he's handled our storms and those various different things. But it puts him on the inside, though.
Is Florida running a surplus? I mean, how's our state doing compared to like California, Chicago?
Compared to California, everybody's beating it.
Well,
don't let the secret
New York.
And in Illinois, you can't throw that in either because you got Pritzker there who's a moron.
Without a state tax, I mean, I get it. We have the tax on auto insurance and homeowners. But, I mean, the state's still running
very healthy financially.
Very healthy financially, exactly. That's what we need in government.
But see,
fiscally responsible.
So if we take it off,
is that what you're saying?
But if we take it off of just Pete Hegseth, right? I think you take someone like Kash Patel, right? Who his thing is, let's put a spotlight on everything.
Right.
Don't hide anything. Let the people decide. And one of the things I love about what Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy have done with Doge, or at least what the people they've tapped to be on that committee.
They're talking about, right.
A guy like Joe Lonsdale, a guy like Bill Ackman from
Ackman's brilliant.
But part of it is not just that these guys are brilliant. They have massive, massive social followings. So therefore, when they recognize and see where there is this waste, they're not just going to cut it. They're going to tell the world, here's what your previous people have been doing.
They're going to expose it.
Correct. And the more people can see it, and you take it off of what ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News,
MSNBC,
all of these news agencies that should have been reporting on these things, that don't report on these things. All of a sudden, when you make it public and Joe Q public can see what's going on, whoa, why isn't news reporting this? Why aren't people reporting these things?
So I have a theory. It's not QAnon or anything like that. I'm not trying to get spooky or whatever, but this everything that we see and all the talk and all the setup and all the just amazing things that are going on, it seems like a Kennedy moment. Really does. And I hope.
Well, you want to get into conspiracy?
I hope nothing like this happens. And I'll just say one other thing, and I'll let maybe King come in or somebody else. But Catherine Heritage was on Dan Abrams. Look that interview up. She is honest and she is trustworthy. She's a very good reporter. And what CBS was doing to basically stifle her stories was mind-blowing. It crystallizes and confirms everything that a lot of other people have been screaming about and talking about.
Well, I think he used Matt Gaetz as a Trojan horse because I think he knew that wasn't going to get through, so he can get Hegseth, who could be, and then he's going to appoint Matt Gaetz as special counsel.
What do you guys think about this? Almost blew my mind when I read it last week that Biden and the administration is pushing through a new basically guarantee for all these work from home federal workers. I almost lost my mind hearing that. They're going to push that through.
Did you see the first DOJ report or the first Senate report that came out about the federal workers in D.C.? Now, and Elon cut through it because they said 6%, only 6% of federal employees actually show up to work at least
6%.
One day per week, okay, or per month, whatever the stat was.
I believe it was only 6% show up every single day, 40 hours a week.
Right.
And if you take out security and people, administrative, those pieces, it goes down to less
security
than 1%.
And maintenance was the two categories. So
less
security
than 1%.
and maintenance. It's less than 1% of people show up to work.
And they're pushing this through right before we can do anything about it.
Hey, Gentry, can we give Patrick a minute in between his vodka sodas? Trick, you out there?
Oh, I'm here. This is hard to get in between you guys.
All right, well, bring it. Let's hear what you got to say, buddy.
Well, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that because unfortunately that's the format we're going to have to do and just let me talk. So thank you. Here's my thing with the nominee right now. I think he'll do a great job. He has experience. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to get the Pentagon to pass audit, which is something that hasn't been done in 7 years, which is under Trump as well. I think he'll do a great job. I think right now he's getting hammered on stupid stuff. That's my opinion. However, if the alternative is DeSantis, I think DeSantis will do a phenomenal job. I think either one would be great, but I really think this guy's taking it on the chin for stuff that any of us would have done if we went through what he went through. I think he has experience. I think he'll be able to balance, or not balance, but I think he'll be able to let the Pentagon pass an audit, and that's the biggest thing that we haven't done in 7 years. That right there will be a win in itself.
Why would you think that Pete Hegseth could allow an audit to get passed?
Because it's hot. Right now it's a focal point, Elliot, that they're looking at and they're seeing, and I think that will be one of the biggest things he focuses on to make sure, along with Elon and making sure that they're not wasting money. The whole reason why they can't pass the audit is because they know where the money's going. When you buy $1,500 for a stapler, that's a problem, but this is a bureaucratic problem we have. I got $1,500 for a stapler last year. I'm going to get it again, and I'm going to apply for it again so I can get more money to spend however I want to spend it, and that's the problem we're having.
Interesting.
Sort of like Lee County with our
yeah. Well, I can. Elliot touched on something earlier about running 90,000. Now, in a former life, I ran a facility. I had 695 employees underneath me that I was responsible for. But in the grand scheme of things, I was only responsible for 12 direct reports that ran my divisions. And then it feathered down from there. Now, did I know the ladies who were in my housekeeping that were washing the dishes and the sheets every day? Yes, because it was part of my responsibility to get to know them as the leader of that team. So it comes to Hegseth getting in that role and then him hiring and making
But you going from 690 or 695, whatever it was, if you went to then 60,000, I think that's a major step up. That's a big change.
Well, but when you're calling 60,000 employees, you're figuring in our troops in that scenario, correct?
No.
So you've got your
right.
battalion leaders.
He's up to 900,000. So I'm using just the example of your 6,600 to go to 60,000 to go to 600,000. even including troops, that's still a massive jump.
And it comes down to how that org chart's defined and who's responsible, because his job is to hold those people accountable.
But the more layers of bureaucracy in any organization, this is not a shot at Pete Hegseth or anybody that's doing it. That is still a massive jump to get up to that point.
I agree.
Nobody can manage more than, say, 12 to 15 people.
Well,
tops.
that's why I'm saying
direct reports.
That's why I'm saying the last 4 or 5 people that have been in that role that have actually done decent jobs, I haven't been qualified for that, because there's nobody in America that manages.
Right.
Unless you're in a massive corporation, but I can guarantee you the guy that got plugged away yesterday on the frickin' sidewalk in frickin' New York City, he didn't know the people who work for him in Los Angeles, California.
Well, I mean,
he's the CEO of the company.
Scully, it looks like we've all weighed in. If we had to think the smart choice, I mean, take a vote. My vote's DeSantis.
Okay.
Elliot? Overhead, Seth, basically.
Again, I don't know if DeSantis has an interest in it. I know we brought it up. I've not necessarily seen that he's going to be a nominee. They talked about Jody Ernst, who was the senator from Iowa, who's another veteran who could be good to lead that. That to me, when I look at overall all of the cabinet members, and whether it was Gates or anybody else, if they had named Gates as the number 2 or number 3 as attorney general with somebody else that was probably had less baggage and things like that, he still could have taken a flamethrower to that entire department. Or where we're talking about the Department of Education and closing that and taking a flamethrower to that. You want to be able to name people that are going to face less scrutiny or have less red flags to them, is what I would have liked to have seen. And then you add somebody as a second or third position that can come in and raise hell without needing as much scrutiny.
All right. Point well taken. But again, we've all weighed in. So, I mean, anybody got any votes or anything? We're going to move on from this?
We're going to move on. We're going to get back into our ballywick.
Beat it to death. So.
But I'm going to tell you one thing. Knowing the gentleman who's sitting in Mar-a-Lago right now and putting these people forward, he is absolutely sideways at Joni Ernst, at Lindsey Graham, at John Thune, because he just won a resounding election that pounded the Republicans home, and these people are holding him up. And these are the same people who put forth those people I talked about earlier and supported him nonstop. Now you finally got a chance to have a Republican domination, and they're freaking pulling some bullshit because he went through a divorce and he drank too much.
I don't think
that's 99 out of 100 men in America.
I don't think it's just bullshit that he's had too many drinks or that he's been married too many times. I don't think that's simply the answer, because there's plenty of people in all aspects of government that have been married too many times and have too many drinks. I don't think to narrow it down to that small of a window, I think is missing the major point.
Okay.
And if he didn't go to the people that are in the Republican leadership to say, here's who I'm likely going to nominate, tell me what you think, or vet these people previously, that's his own mistake.
All right. Let's move forward and get back into, we're going to jump into college football, and we're going to put the public politicians aside. When we come back from this break, we want to thank our friends at 3 City Pizza. We'll have Trick pull the hammer on the slot machine a few times, see if he wins some cash. And we'll be back in just a minute with more of the reality
number
check.
25.
Number 9. Number 9 is coming to my
17.
brain. I'm channeling 9. I don't know why. Number 9.
25. Black. Go.
You know I'm the savant.
You are. You are.
All right, gents, we're going to jump in before. Well, welcome back, America. Let's get in and have some fun, guys. That political talk, I guess, always gets a little cantankerous.
It gets heavy. It really does.
It's unbelievable. Well, let's delve into the world of college football. Pretty interesting weekend last weekend. Rivalry weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've seen, since Baker planted the flag in the middle of the horseshoe when Oklahoma took down Ohio State, I don't think I recall that happening in the last 4 or 5 years like it did last weekend. And maybe it was the fact that we had more road teams win. But, you know,
it was 4 or 5 different games. It wasn't just one game where it occurred.
That's what I mean.
It was a lot of different games.
But I mean, and then where the road teams
spilled
won.
into the NFL too. spilled over in the NFL a little bit.
Where that happened in the NFL? I didn't see that.
There was
Well, flag planting?
Yeah.
You talking about that?
not flag planting,
No.
but just ruckus.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the fights, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously Michigan and Ohio State set the tone for the day. And then we saw it at NC State, North Carolina. I'm drawing a blank right now. You had
Texas, Texas A&M.
Texas A&M.
Florida State.
Florida
Yeah,
State.
Florida State.
I mean, and how about the Ohio State police pepper spraying the Michigan players?
Oh,
Right.
I mean, that's just unbelievable.
How about to show a bigger fight on the field during the game, not after the game?
There's a lot to be said for that. I actually think that actually came out of the mouth of Urban Meyer. Said, you guys had 4 hours or 3 hours to fight. Now you're fighting over a stupid thing getting stuck in AstroTurf.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right.
And look,
Silly.
Florida State. Look, we know a lot of us in this room have personal attachments to this. Both teams' seasons were garbage.
Dumpster fire.
I don't
What are
think-
you sitting here fighting over?
I don't think Florida State reacted like Michigan did. I mean, and
Well, it
Ohio
wasn't
State.
Michigan. It was the way Ohio State reacted
yeah,
to Michigan.
Right. I mean, Florida State, yeah, they ruffled a little feathers, but, they weren't that crazy. I mean, it was a little disrespectful, but I say good. You got to feel a little pain.
That's right.
Come back next year and make sure they don't do that crap. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Show
Suck it
that
up.
that passion during the game.
Yeah,
not after the game.
yeah, and a lot of cleanup needs to be done. I'm hanging my hat on, Jameis Winston throwing up 500 yards for Cleveland and Deion Sanders freaking rocking the house and producing a Heisman Trophy candidate in Colorado. There's a lot of good that Florida State has produced for college football and for the NFL. So suck it. How about that? You suck it.
I didn't take a shot at you yet.
I don't like.
Yet.
I don't like the way you're
He
looking
looked
at me.
directly
Suck it.
at Elliot.
Hey,
He's
Trick,
wait- he's
he
waiting
looked right
for
at
him.
Elliot and said, suck it.
I don't like the way you're looking at me.
Listen, I already sent you the meme.
Where's
How
my
does-
buddy Patrick?
How does John?
come
I
on.
sent this to you
Patrick,
already.
I missed
How does
you.
Florida State eat cereal? No bowl.
He's sending me crazy
No
texts.
bowl.
No bowl.
Nothing like Patrick would do. You need to go. Bye-bye.
Just ain't right. That
You just hated that I'm right. I said it to your
Jump
boy
in here,
Shooter last
Tricky.
week,
Jump
too.
in.
I'm getting big angry. So whatever.
Trick, you with us?
Johnny, last time they had me come in and replace you as the only Seminole fan. Now we're on either side of Elliot. We could gang up on him a little
Absolutely. Let's do
bit.
it.
Give him a little.
Listen, I'll give you
dust
their
up.
2 wins. I'll give you their 2 wins, and I'll still take our 7.
And I'm fond of the
Dust you up a
Hebrews.
little bit.
I'm not fond of your sarcasm and all the texts I've been getting.
Too bad, because I've been
all
laying it on
week.
pretty
What
thick.
was the text that you just sent me about the recruiting class? I mean, Jesus, this
Florida
is crap
State.
I got to deal with.
Florida
all
State
freaking
has
week.
a better recruiting class going into the portal than they have got signed yesterday.
I mean, Patrick, come on, man, help me out. I know you love to fight with Elliot.
No, I mean, unfortunately, in this case, I align with them in the fact that, you won, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You guys won last year with the portal. This year it was tough for you. On the planting the flag thing, I think that everyone misses and no one's brought up is the fact that last year y'all took out like a foot of sod on our field of the Gator to go plant in your graveyard, and no one had a problem. Y'all whipped our ass. It was good. No one cared. Then we tried to plant a flag, not rip up your grass, but just plant a flag, and y'all lose your mind. I think it's
they didn't lose their mind, and I'm not saying I said
the coach didn't shake his hand, dude. The
I
coach
said, "Bring
your coach
it.
Went up to him
Plant
and
the
bitched
flag."
at him and bitched at him like a little girl and wouldn't shake his hand. That is a fact.
I need to confirm that.
Patrick, I agree with you. We do have the sod cemetery. That's a big thing, but it is not stomping on and demeaning, your letters or the Gator or things like that. It's very calculated. And those guys, they showed their butts a little bit.
Florida State
but
couldn't calculate anything even with a calculator.
I can't disagree with you, Elliot. But
I can.
I just think you know what, you gotta let it talk on the field.
But
if
here's
you can't do that, you just gotta shut the heck up.
Now, here's the other bigger problem that you're going to see. When are these conferences going to come out and start suspending players? Now, for Florida State, again, end of the season, doesn't matter. Florida going to a bowl game where most of the kids are going to opt out anyway, doesn't matter. Anybody that's going into, like Ohio State's kids, that are going into the playoff, what do you do about those kids? And if not this year, what do you do in future years? You need to either set the example saying anybody that does this, automatic suspension for the next game or 2 games. Even if you set that precedent for next year, not this year, you need to set that precedent. Otherwise, it's going to get way worse.
And I think the Big Ten came down on Ohio State and Michigan. I think it was, you're going to laugh at this, but it was a $100,000 fine. Case closed. If it happens again, major implications. But we're going to fine you $100,000. Let's move on.
$100,000 is nothing.
Well, exactly. When your quarterback's making 3.2 as an NIL money.
Right.
You put 110,000 people in there paying how much per ticket?
Yeah.
The alumni boosters that are paying just to buy their seats, $100,000 in.
Yeah. Before we get into games, let's touch on just a couple things. Obviously, the Heisman Trophy is in a couple weeks, and it looks as if the odds-on favorite right now is Travis Hunter at University of Colorado playing for Coach Prime.
Okay, what do you guys think? I mean, who's your favorites?
Well, to me, he's the winner.
If you had a vote right now, who's your vote?
He's the winner. And Ashton Genty, the kid from Boise State,
Yep.
is a very close second.
And what about Dylan Gabriel? I mean, didn't he just break a record?
Yeah, but
matter of fact, against Maryland.
But Carl, how do you go?
He doesn't play every snap.
How do you
Total
go against a
passing.
kid who's played 132 snaps per game, he's got
Both
13
ways, playing
touchdowns,
both ways,
And
Come on.
touches so many different aspects of the game. Punt returns, has kick returned, defense, offense. You haven't seen that since Woodson. You haven't seen that impact that,
even
or
more
Rocket
than,
Ismail
even
type
more
things.
than Woodson. I mean, he played consistently. Woodson was every once in a while played slot or played wide out. This kid plays 132 plays a game.
Yeah, Hunter.
I'm not saying he's not qualified.
Say what you want about Deion Sanders. He's flamboyant. He's out there. He talks a lot of trash, but that guy, and yes, he's a Florida State grad. I know what he said on TV, but he's from Florida State. That guy, I mean, he is all about his outreach programs in inner cities and basically looking for kids to give them a way out is far better than any other NFL player that came out of the NFL. That guy, I mean, I know he's ostentatious and it's his brand, but he's never changed. He's always been that way since day one, even when he was in Fort Myers. And now, I mean, he deserves it, and he's done a lot for a lot of different communities out there and for a lot of these kids. And the guy can recognize talent, and the kid deserves it. He's the Heisman, hands down, period.
Well said, Johnny, and I agree.
Yeah.
It's nice for me to compliment you once in a while.
Hey,
Now,
John.
I will say this. Travis Hunter was supposed to go to Florida State, flipped last minute
Quite
to
all right.
Jackson State,
Quite all right.
and Prime told him, "You come here, I'm going to make you a star.
Gonna play
I'm
both
gonna
ways.
I'm going to get you playing both ways. I'm going to do all that." So Travis Hunter, phenomenal season, but do not diminish what Ashton Genty has done.
Oh, completely.
Since maybe
Or Dylan Gabriel. To
since
Carl's
maybe
point.
since maybe Ron Dane hasn't been a more powerful running back.
Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders
compares to Barry Sanders.
is the number.
Right.
Barry Sanders will never be replicated as in terms of what he did in his last year at Oklahoma State. But
In 1 year.
in 1 year at Oklahoma,
In one season.
those numbers were
What conference
unreal.
was he in?
Big 12.
That was the Big 12 or Big 8 at the time. Or
No, I'm not talking about Barry Sanders. I'm talking about the other guy.
Oh, he's in the Mountain West.
Mountain West, Boise State.
Mountain West.
They're playing. They're going to be the number 4 seed in the. Assuming they beat UNLV this
I
week,
don't mean
they're
to-
going to win the Mountain West. They're going to be in the top 4 seed.
Put him in the
playoff.
SEC. Does the guy do the same
You
thing?
absolutely. You
No
put this
way.
kid in the SEC. Absolutely,
I don't disagree.
because
with
then his
that.
offensive line is going to be that much bigger and stronger in the SEC. Absolutely, this guy's going to is a star.
We'll see in the NFL.
The kid is special.
Okay.
The kid is special. So it looks that Travis Hunter is the odds-on favorite. Dylan Gabriel's there. Ashton Genty. You break that down, and then going further, what happened yesterday? Yesterday was signing day for the high school kids. It looked as if, I believe, Georgia, Texas, and Oregon were the top 3 teams depending on which service you use. But I believe the top 10 teams for signing days yesterday, 3 of them were from the Big Ten, and the other 7 were from the Southeastern Conference.
SEC, yeah. How much
But
is
see, here's where sorry, go ahead, King.
that Nike money from Oregon coming in there for
Oh,
NIL?
that's huge. Have you
Phil
ever been there?
And it's crazy. I've never been there, but I had a buddy that worked there. Amazing.
My good friends who I'm wearing today, I support them, love them to death. The swoosh. I've been out there a couple times to Beaverton and to Portland to their campus, but also out to Eugene to see what Phil Knight has donated in their facilities.
Yep.
just the rehab stuff. They were the first ones to have the underwater treadmills for kids rehabbing with no pressure. I mean, their facilities are better than any National Football League team's facilities.
Yeah.
So
Here's the problem with the rankings that came out yesterday. Absolutely, the SEC and a few of the Big Ten teams are going to dominate. However, almost all those teams that are listed in the top rankings are in the playoffs, which means nobody's entered the transfer portal yet. So all these kids that are coming in that are 4 stars, 5 stars, they're not going to want to sit and be backups, second, third string backups. Or if they're coming in likely to take a starting role, how many kids then are going to leave and go somewhere else?
Elliot, you touched on it. I watched last night, was sitting actually with Trick. Trick and I were watching it last night. Tom Luganville was on ESPN before we watched Jimmy's Marquette team get dusted. But he said that all of these kids who are signing today, 67% of them, 18 months from now, will not be at the school they're signing with.
Right.
That's earth-shattering. I mean, 40 years ago, I signed to go to the University of Illinois. After the first year, after the second year, I was in it to win it to all the way to the end. There was
Locked
no
in.
obviously
Too much money.
And well, if you transferred, you had to sit a year.
Right.
So and these kids can transfer right now and go play. Which I will tell you will solve the portal problem. You tell them they got to sit out a year, portal goes away.
And the NIL money waits too.
The problem is
you're
not making a coach sit out a year if he leaves a job.
Yeah, we've had this discussion.
Change that too. Change that too, Elliot.
1,000% right.
But
Line them up.
When Florida lost their top 2 quarterbacks earlier in the season, and we had a walk-on from Yale who was a freshman at Yale last year who became our walk-on and ended up being our starter. Everybody's like, how do you not have a third-string quarterback? If you look at the number of quarterbacks that have transferred out of the University of Florida over the last 4 years, a couple of them are playing the NFL, a couple of them are starting at high D1. A lot of talent has left because they're not going to sit around to be a third string.
Right.
And you could say the same thing about a left tackle, a center, anything like that. So recruiting numbers, we know the big schools, whether they're recruiting them as high school kids or transfers, they're still going to be top tier talents.
NIL and portal has made college football a professional game.
Deion, you guys mentioned Deion before. He doesn't care what his ranking is with how many high school kids. He knows he's going to the portal and loading up with guys that have proven it. Maybe at a smaller school, maybe at a D2 school, maybe at the FCS schools. They've proven at the collegiate level they can play, not just at a high school.
Well, and also, Scully, Florida State proved. I mean, I sat here and said, oh my God, my team was undefeated last year until they got blasted by Georgia. But they're going to come back. They got a good transfer quarterback coming in. Didn't know he's total garbage. But then you live and die. You live and die by the ukulele.
Hey, Trick, tell them what you told me last night. Florida State, the difference in the 2 years.
Well, if you just go transfer portal, you got to do the same thing every year, Patrick. Yeah. You know that, and you said about it.
Tricky, tell them what we were talking about last night.
Oh, hey, welcome to the podcast, guys. How are y'all today? Good to talk to you. It's fantastic. Let me tell you, it's great. No, if you don't build around a quarterback, you cannot get a transfer. You cannot get a QB out of the transfer portal. If you try to do that, it's like where I am now. You're at a casino. You got a 1 in 5 shot of actually getting someone good, or you're going to have someone like Florida State had at ukulele who sucks. Last year they had someone they brought up from scratch from a freshman that came a senior and was dominant with it. He put the pieces around him. It works. You try to go with a quarterback, you've got a 1 in 5 shot of getting someone good. There's a reason why they're in the portal. I believe you said that earlier, Elliot.
I believe Oregon and the number 1 team in the country would disagree with you.
But they're one out of 100.
There are plenty.
Point. So give me those odds, Elliot. You're right. 1 in 5 wasn't right. My bad. I stand corrected. It's 1 in 50. My bad. You're 100% correct.
For portal quarterbacks,
there are plenty of look at the kid at Indiana. Made a huge difference there coming from James Madison, right?
Yep.
You look at
the kid from Yale do.
The portal allows you to catch.
He was a
lightning
freshman
in a
at Yale.
bottle.
You don't want to sit there and say that was
the kid from Yale do that went to Florida. How did he do?
He's a third stringer. He was never supposed to be good.
It doesn't matter. My point is,
all right,
the quarterback.
Yeah, all right. Florida.
Look at Florida. Look at ukulele.
How about Florida starting the kid from Wisconsin that was their number 1 quarterback? Mertz came from Wisconsin, was a portal quarterback.
And what
so you're saying that Florida State's the anomaly?
No, I'm saying to just simply assume that just because a quarterback's in the portal, he's garbage or it's a absolute.
That's not what I said.
luck.
I said you have a 1 in 5 shot of having a good quarterback that'll make a difference.
Right. You're trying to catch lightning in the bottle.
Lightning in a bottle.
I think Joe Burrow would like to speak differently with you. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that have proven it.
Obviously, there's
Baker
examples.
Mayfield did it and transferred and won the Heisman. There's
Hurts.
lots of examples. Jalen Hurts. I mean, there's plenty of examples of quarterbacks that have gone into the portal.
And I can give you plenty that didn't.
These are high school kids. These are college kids. These are 22-year-old kids. It's not just because of the portal. It's kids.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Elliot, but I'm going to support Trick on this because if you go through the statistics of it, it's probably 15% of the quarterbacks that actually transferred that have actually paid off in their transfer.
So what is the percentage of wide receivers that pay off in their transfer?
Probably 15%.
Or left tackles. Or right. It's going to be the same whether it's quarterback, left tackle, wide receiver, safety. If you go the portal is a crapshoot.
Well, to Trick's point, Florida State last year had Jordan Travis, who was homebred, and got some unbelievable transfers to come in the portal. This year, they thought they identified their quarterback. He turned out to be garbage, and the other kids that they had didn't have enough to support it, and they went 2-9. So, I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And look, it is perfectly acceptable for anybody on the podcast or listening in Milwaukee to disagree with me. You'll be wrong, but it's okay for you to disagree with me.
Anyway, hey, Trick, what's your Heisman pick?
Yeah.
Trick, what's your Heisman pick?
What's that?
What's your Heisman pick?
Heisman.
No, you got to go with a dual player, man. You have to. That kid that I watched him the other day, the running back from Boise State, he is special. He is good. He's not a two-way player. And if he don't have people blocking for him, I watched it a couple of times. When they actually got through the line, he couldn't make people miss. He just couldn't. Now, on the open field, he was great. And he has unbelievable talent. But he wasn't a Barry Sanders type, make people miss at the Detroit Lions and make something out of nothing.
But Barry Sanders is a once in a billion type running back. This guy was playing against a stacked box.
Henry?
He was playing against I'm not trying to say that he should have
Gentry,
won it.
can you shut off Elliot's mic, please?
He played against a stacked box. Boise State nobody could name a Boise State wide receiver.
Patrick, I'm trying.
It was
I'm
a
trying.
stacked box.
I know you are, John. It's okay.
Elliot's trying to kick
game.
me out of my seat.
Hey, Trick, before we move on to the games.
I can't wait to the hate text I get.
Let's move on to the games, but I want to ask you.
Anti-Semitic.
Hey, John, shut the fuck up.
Anti-dentite.
Have you been into the sports book yet?
I have not yet.
I was
I
wondering.
don't even know if they have one here.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they have a sports book here.
Because I was wondering what I think I looked earlier on Frankie Papagiorgio's side. I think Travis Hunter's minus 10,000.
No
Yeah,
way.
I mean, it's his, man. He's a
It was
two-way player
minus
that-
8,000
that's
during the
impactful
game
on both
yesterday.
sides.
What are the odds?
Last week.
There it is right there.
Minus
Minus
5,000.
Yeah, but
So
I
it's
think
minus
I think
5.
it's now minus on ESPN Bet. I like BetMGM a lot more because I'm an MGM player.
There's no chance for Cam Ward.
No.
No chance.
I mean, you just brought it up. The story is Miami. What the hell happened?
We're going to get into that. Just hold on a second,
Geez,
John.
man, I'm
you're
overzealous.
teasing early.
Ready to go, baby.
You're teasing early.
Let's go. Let's do
You're
this.
teasing early.
I'm on a
He was
clock,
asleep
man.
last week and this week.
And this week he's wide awake. You have been microdosed properly.
Yes.
All right, let's move into the championship games, and then it leads into the college playoff to where Johnny was. I'm going to start at the bottom. Boise State, UNLV. You got Boise State 11-1, UNLV 10-2, Mountain West Championship. UNLV pulls off an upset. Does that monkey wrench into what we're going to talk about with the college football playoff?
Well, let's go back and talk about the college football, what they've talked about in terms of the conference championships and how that affects the overall ratings.
Yeah, well, they got Boise State right now ranked 4th.
So
Would
if
be a
you
4th
win,
seed.
can you move up? Because they're saying that the Alabamas of the world aren't supposed to move.
Well, in the situation with Boise State, it really doesn't matter because if UNLV wins, they either get the 4th spot or the 12th spot. And that in the Big 12 champion is either going to get the 12th spot or the 4th spot. That's it. So whoever wins the Big 12 and whoever wins the Mountain West, those are the only two places that they are going to go.
Okay. The one game we're going to get to next is the one that screws up the whole pooch.
The SMU Clemson game.
Yes.
SMU.
That's the only one that really changes.
Because the ACC, how do you take out an 11-2 SMU team if Clemson happens to win? That's where I think Alabama gets bumped.
Correct. Well, what the committee came out and said, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is what you were alluding to before, is that if you are not playing in a championship game, you cannot improve where you're at, and if you are playing, you cannot get hurt.
Okay.
Which makes no sense to me, because let's say that Clemson does beat SMU.
So where's SMU right now?
SMU moves down.
SMU's at 7, I believe.
SMU would move to 7, maybe 8. Would stay there.
SMU's at 8.
They're at 8. Okay.
So they would maybe move 9, and everybody would bump down 1. Clemson would leap into the automatic place as either 4th,
so the
3rd, or 4th.
So the boys put up on the screen, it's just about 50-50. Was it 53-47?
Yeah.
53-46?
2.5 points
between the two of them. But Clemson's the one who could throw the wrench and knock out Alabama.
Correct.
That's just silly. Thank
you, Charles. Thank you, Charles. All right. So, okay, who do you guys think wins the Mountain West? Johnny, Boise State, or UNLV?
Boise. Did they have the first loss yet?
They have one loss.
Yeah,
to Oregon.
They're gonna beat UNLV. They're gonna win. So they're gonna win.
Patrick, are you there?
I'm here.
Is the Mountain West Championship in Vegas?
I think it is.
So UNLV's playing at home.
In essence. But it doesn't matter, because Boise State has the best running back to ever play college football, so they're going to win.
I love the way you slipped that in there. well done. Well done.
My eyes are continuing to roll.
Elliot,
well, maybe you'll see your brain eventually. If you roll them back enough, you'll see your brain.
All right, Elliot, Boise State or UNLV?
Boise.
Tricky, Boise or UNLV?
Boise.
See, Nick.
I concur, Boise.
Kinger?
And I got Boise State by 7.5.
I'm going UNLV's going to pull up the upset at home in this Death Star in Vegas. All right, ACC. Johnny, Clemson or SMU?
As much as I don't want to see Clemson win, they're prepared for this game. They're going to pull it out. They're going to win.
Elliot?
SMU.
Okay.
Clemson.
I'm
taking Clemson. Yeah, they're playing in North Carolina.
You want shit being stirred, don't you?
It's They're playing in North Carolina.
Playing
correct?
Charlotte.
Yeah. Clemson's going to take it.
All right. Kinger?
Playing in Charlotte, but I still think SMU has more talent, and I think they're going to win by a field goal.
Trickster?
So I have a question before I give you my pick, because Elliot he made a good point from the standpoint of the committee, saying if you're playing a championship game, you should get hurt. Here's my question. I'm picking SMU, but when SMU wins, and now Clemson has 3 losses, they played in a championship game, but they deserve to get hurt because 2 of their losses came to Georgia and South Carolina, both SEC teams. Both 2 teams, at least one, Alabama beat. So they deserve to get hurt if they lose in this game.
But where is Clemson currently ranked?
I believe 14. They're outside the number right now.
Which means they're not. If they lose, they're not jumping into the number.
Yeah,
I thought they were like 22 because
17.
Miami is 14.
They're 17.
17.
They're
So they're
17.
Yeah.
So they're done. So if they don't win, it's nobody's getting penalized.
That's a good point.
Kinger.
Good, because that they should.
Yeah, Miami's
It's good to know that I'm correct again. Thank you, Patrick.
Miami's at 14, 10-2. So
Yeah, that's the one who got screwed tricky was Miami.
yeah.
Yes.
They dropped like 8 spots.
Well, they screwed themselves by losing to Syracuse, but Syracuse is not a terrible team. They're 10-3.
Yeah, in the dome.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
How about would you like to be Ohio State and have Kyle McCord, who led the NCAA in passing and got run out of town by Ohio State, transferred to Syracuse, and threw the ball all over the formerly known as the Carrier
Against
Dome.
Miami. Yep. So, all right, let's move to the Big 12. It does not involve Colorado, so we don't have to talk more about Coach Prime for John. But you got Arizona State, which I think is a big surprise this year. They're way ahead of schedule. And Iowa State. Now, we watched Iowa State's basketball team dismantle Marquette last night. Can Iowa State's football team dismantle the Sun Devils? Johnny, what do you think?
No, Jake Plummer and ASU is going to roll.
Jake Plummer?
Jake the Snake.
Ouch.
Jake the Snake. Plummer.
I think Jake Plummer played at Arizona State in like 1996.
I remember a year that
along with Pat
team
Tillman
covered the spread every single game of the season.
That was like the Knowles back in the
Never seen
early
anything like
90s.
it. Oh man, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Elliot, ASU, or
my boy Pat Tillman was on that team.
Yep.
Always root for Arizona State. Love that team.
yeah,
Arizona State.
yeah. Jackie told me the Valley's kind of going crazy right now. They haven't had this kind of fever in a while, which is kind of cool. See, Nick,
Strong running game. Passing game, strong as well. I like Arizona State.
Scatterbo,
Yep. Scatterbo.
the Scatterbo boy,
Yes, sir.
Kinger.
I'm going the other way, baby.
You're going Iowa State.
Spin it like a cyclone. Spin
Oh,
it, baby.
okay.
Spin it.
All right, Tricky, you're up there in the land of the Cyclones. You're not far from Ames, Iowa. Tell me what you think.
It's ASU all day. The world's going to be shocked in a later game that we'll get to.
Okay, I love it. All right,
Nobody
Big 12
believes
champ.
King anyway, so I mean he came.
Right. Florida State.
He's got
Florida State
zero
going to the
credibility.
national
Well,
championship.
And I love him because he's one of my brothers, but
No, well, this
Zero.
is
I got zero
You-
street cred right
you
now.
need-
No, zero.
you need
You are absolutely
you
right.
need to ascend to that credibility.
Don't you worry.
Well, that game may do it. That game may do it, but
this
I don't
one will
think so.
have Trick on his ears right now. We're going to go to the Big Ten championship, and one of Patrick's favorite teams in America, the Penn State Nittany Lions, playing the Oregon Ducks. I'll let Johnny start off.
Nittany Lions, man. I'm going with Nittany.
You can't even
You're
pronounce
pulling
it. You can't even pronounce it. I mean,
Are you pulling off the upset?
us
The number
here.
one team in the country goes down?
Past 6 o'clock. I'm a little.
the sun is down.
Sun is
Yeah.
down. You know me, so I'm good. Yep, upset.
All right.
Now,
Elliot.
Now I know no team will ever have the conversation of is it good for us to lose? Conversation will never happen. But for humor's sake, for the moment, let's talk about this as gentlemen for the moment. If you're Oregon, is it better for you to lose this game? You become the number 5 seed and you play likely Arizona State, and then at home, and then you play Boise before going into the Final Four. Whereas
As opposed to what?
as opposed to you get a bye, and then the 8-9 game is, I believe, Tennessee and
Ohio State.
There it is.
I mean, that's to try to beat Tennessee or Ohio State is a gauntlet. Is it better to lose the game? It is not in their vocabulary. It is not. Dan Lanning is not letting
I
that conversation
completely
happen.
understand that.
But
And my friend in Milwaukee, I think I know where he's going to pick here in a second. So we'll jump to him and see Nick.
Well, you can certainly say, is it better to lose the game? But again, you don't want that
never- it's
big
never
L.
better
It's
to
never
lose at
good,
anything.
right? So
Where's that game being played at?
where is it?
Indianapolis, I think. Big Ten.
Indianapolis is
Yeah.
the Big Ten championship.
So, I think Oregon, they have something to show. I mean, right? They're undefeated, correct?
Yes, and it'll
Okay,
also be one of
so-
the first times they've been seen nationally because a lot of their games are late.
Yeah.
They were only in a national spotlight, I think, 3 times all year.
Yeah, on paper, they're very, very strong. I mean, again, I keep on, talking about Dylan Gabriel and his team. I think Oregon, needs to take this game. They really do.
You mean two-time transfer Dylan Gabriel, who
Yes.
started at UCF, where your kids
Yes,
went?
absolutely. All 3 kids.
He's paid for the right wing over there at
I have.
UCF. All right,
have.
Kinger.
What's the
Carl's
line on
on.
that
Carl's
game?
on Oregon.
Man, this is a really tough one for me because I think if it gets ugly and physical, Penn State's going to win the game. But I'm going to go with Oregon because I think they're going to keep it fast and on their side, high scoring. So I go with Oregon.
That makes me feel so much better.
All right, let's go satellite to Milwaukee. Talk about
Well,
Penn
thank you,
State,
Scully.
Trickster.
Thank you so much. So I was with my good friend Jeff Greenberg, who is a staunch Penn State fan, and he wants to lose because he gets to play the 2 weaker teams, which is a win. However, Scully, I have a question. Is Penn State playing Ohio State or Michigan this week?
They are not.
Then they get a W because they only lose to 2 teams.
I knew that was coming from my brother. They only lose to 2 teams, Ohio State and Michigan.
I knew it was coming out of you, Patrick. Therefore, I did not say it.
We love your consistency, brother. We love your consistency. All right, the last championship game, the SEC championship. Can Texas actually pull off an SEC championship in their first year in the SEC, going to Atlanta to play Georgia? Georgia's their only loss they've got this year, correct?
The Texas.
They have
Texas.
two losses.
Texas has 2 losses?
Texas has 1 loss.
Yeah, it's to Georgia.
Yeah.
In Austin.
Yes.
Johnny, the Longhorns hold serve and win in Atlanta.
I tell you, the talent on Georgia is just absolutely amazing. But when you look at how they've been playing down this last stretch, it's been not consistent. It's been, mistakes on both sides of the ball. Something's telling me Texas. So I don't know why.
I got to tell you though, last Friday night, the Georgia Tech game from the fourth quarter to all the overtimes was actually a really good watch. It was. I don't know if it was great football, but it was exciting because you didn't know what the hell was going to happen.
They had no business winning that game.
They did not.
I mean,
Georgia Tech outplayed them for 3.5 quarters.
Georgia Tech's not a bad team, and that says something about Florida State losing to them in the beginning of the season.
Oh, fuck Florida State. They're 2-9. Let's look forward to next year.
Hey, watch your mouth.
But
Elliot.
to go 8 overtimes and you're supposed to be a team that's going to go play for the national championship. Now, you said how entertaining it was to watch. I was on a flight and the wonderful.
No, you're flying north.
The wonderful Spirit Airlines where you see nothing and there is no Wi-Fi nor anything else. I missed the game Friday or the second half of the game.
Hey, you get to watch a hamsters. You get to watch a hamsters on. Turn
listen,
the
my
wheels.
feet were good for were used for the brakes.
That's
on
right.
Friday night, so that was great.
Okay,
Fred
Flintstone.
But I will say that you brought up Texas in their first year. Texas Tech's head coach had a press conference the other day. You realize how many of these teams that have transferred and changed conferences in their first year? SMU in the title game, changed conferences. Arizona State changed conferences in the title game. Oregon changed conferences in the title game. Texas changed conferences in the title game. All of a sudden, the SEC is dominant. The Big Ten is dominant. Yes, I still agree. Their rankings are great, everything else. But
the new landscape.
A lot of these teams are coming in, and maybe it's just because they're new or whatever it is. But so a lot of the traditional, what you think you always know, may be different. Always tough to beat a team twice. Georgia.
Thank you. What?
Or, sorry, Texas.
Jesus.
Sorry. There you go.
Come on, man.
All right.
Okay. So
Nick.
Keeping you honest.
So
see Nick.
Scenic.
I said scenic.
So, I've been playing soccer, or better yet, football, as the Europeans call it. Football all my life. And, when we have these really tough rivalry games where, this one team is just really tough. And when we lose that game, I agree with Elliot. You're hungry. You want to beat the team that you lost. It's like, it's a big rivalry game. So I think that gives the edge to Texas. Number 2, Beck, he has to have a real clean game, and he's been really, really spotty this year. He doesn't seem too comfortable.
He actually played really well last week against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and but this is a huge game, and I don't think I know it's in Atlanta, but I still think Texas is going to be victorious.
Kinger?
Man, I'd love to go the other way on this than these guys, but I have to agree. I think I see Georgia kind of falling apart. And besides my crazy Florida State pick, Georgia was going to be my pick prior to that to be the national championship. But man, the last couple of games, it wasn't. It wasn't. I got to own up to that. But man, the last few games, I've seen Georgia really take steps back, and I don't like it. And I think Texas is really taking a couple steps forward. So I think Texas is going to get them.
Okay. Yeah. Trickster?
Well, in the off chance that Georgia knew they were in the SEC championship game, and because they were playing the ACC, which the SEC was 9-3 against the ACC this year. Could it have just, a happenstance been a look-ahead game for them, and they got a wake-up call in the second half and came alive and pulled the game out? Possibly.
I didn't see a lot of backups in there, Patrick.
No. I think they went in expecting to win automatically, Mark, because the ACC against the SEC is literally the ACC's 3-9. That's it. And one of those was Miami against Florida, and I think if Miami played Florida today, that may have a different outcome, but we'll never know. So my point is, to quote Letterkenny, is Texas going to win? That's going to be a hard no. I picked Georgia to win the national championship. I'm standing by them. They're going to beat them for the second time. and everyone's going to stop talking.
You're an SEC whore.
And you're
All
an
right.
ACC whore.
Hey,
and right
Patrick.
now you suck at basketball and football.
Hey, Trickster.
God, the SEC in basketball went 14-2 against the ACC. We're talking basketball, not football. Basketball.
I'm just saying.
The challenge, 14-2. That is an ass whooping upon biblical.
Maybe we should start talking about women's soccer.
All right, Tricker,
too.
I'm going to jump in the boat with you. I'm going to take the dogs. And while we got you, as we close out this segment on college football, what's Patrick's power picks for championship weekend?
So my power picks are Penn State plus the 3.5, SMU minus the 2.5, and I'm going to give you a little bit of love out there because it is college basketball. Take Purdue minus 1.5 against Penn State because though Penn State might be doing well in football, they're not going to be doing well in basketball. And take your Illini, the Illinois boys,
The Flying Illini?
minus 2 against I can't read my writing here. Northwestern. They beat them. They beat Northwestern by 2. So Purdue basketball minus 1.5 against Penn State. Illinois minus 2 against Northwestern basketball. SMU minus 2.5 football. Penn State plus 3.5 football. Take it to the bank, boys.
Those are Patrick's 4 power picks in the
is.
NCAA sports. Great job, big boy. We'll be back to you
Thank
in
you,
just
sir.
a minute. And to America, we'll be back after this break. Again, always a shout out to our good friend Bob Hamer at Coastal Title for his love and sponsorship. Bobby, we love you. Say hi to Ruta. And we'll be back after this break. Always follow, like, and subscribe to The Reality Check. We'll be back in just a minute. Thank you. Welcome back, America. And again, thanks to our good friend Bob Hamer at Coastal Title. We love you, Bobby. Sorry we couldn't be with you today, but we'll see you next week. All right, gentlemen, let's transition to the National Football League. We got 4 games on the docket, and tonight's big game, huge game in the NFC North. The Packers are going into Detroit to play the Lions.
Yeah, it is a big game.
This is a big game tonight.
Yep.
So give me your thoughts, Carl. Do you like the Packers or do you like the Lions?
You know, Jordan Love has been he's been struggling this year. I have been big on Detroit all year round. Again, I know I've said this once before, but they have a great running game in Montgomery and Gibbs. You know, the quarterback is not a slouch either. And I think Detroit, they're home. I take Detroit and lay the points.
All right, Kinger.
I love Jordan Love, but you know, there's something about Dan Campbell and that team and Jared Goff.
Is Big Angry here? Is Big Angry back?
I do really like and root for Detroit this year, so I think Detroit's going to get her nut.
All right, Elliot.
Detroit coming off this mini bye, the 10-day break, and et cetera is great. But how many defensive starters has Detroit lost for the season?
About a half a dozen.
That's sooner or later, that starts to become real difficult to overcome. It doesn't mean they're going to fall apart as a team, but you know, sooner or later it's going to catch up to you. I think tonight it does. Green Bay.
Johnny?
What's the line on the game?
3?
It's 3.
3.
And that's tight. And I've been thinking about this game, and I feel like it's going to be sloppy, a little back and forth. But man, you just can't go against the weapons on Detroit and just how that team is playing like a team all around every side of the ball. So, I mean, I want to say the Pack only because probably everybody's thinking Detroit, but I'm going to go with the obvious, Captain Obvious, Detroit.
All right, Trickster, what are you thinking?
So here's the thing. Did Detroit not beat Green Bay in Green Bay outside?
Yes, they did.
Okay, well, short of getting shot by everyone looking at me right now, I'm picking Green Bay.
Well played, sir.
For our audience out there, if you didn't tune in earlier, our good friend Patrick is in a casino in downtown Milwaukee. So he is right in the heart of Green Bay.
There he is.
There he is.
There's our
man.
boy. Hey, looking mighty fine.
We got you on the screen, sunshine.
Rosy cheeks. I love it.
Yeah.
If I pick anyone but Green Bay right here, I might get shanked.
Hey, Patrick, more importantly, what do you like on the over? It's 52.5 is the number.
Oh, the over. Go over all day because all kidding aside,
I love it.
Detroit has a ton of injuries on defense. All kidding aside, they really do have a lot of injuries. Johnny, you're 100% right. Their offense is staunch as hell. If I had one play, it wouldn't pick either team. It'd be to take the over.
Love it.
All right. Is your fantasy quarterback Jared Goff?
It is not. I do have St. Brown in, but the over.
Mine's Jordan Love.
Play tonight.
Mm.
I think you're going to see a lot of points scored tonight, guys. All kidding aside, the weather's not a factor because
can't wait.
Scores. Yeah, it's going to be a great game.
Anybody here have Goff in their fantasy team?
I do not.
Anyone?
I do not.
Anyone?
Do you?
I do not.
Do you?
No, I don't.
We'll move on to the next game, and I'll tell you.
I pushed him out for somebody else.
I got Goff's opponent's quarterback tonight. Okay. But let's move on to the Browns versus the Steelers. And I will tell you, I do have Jameis Winston this week. He likes to throw it to the other colored jersey, but he also throws for 500 yards.
He is a pick six machine.
Remember, he's one of the only 30 for 30 guy we got in the National Football League history. 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions.
God will take the pick sixes away.
Yes. He asked for God to do that.
Even God can't do that.
Trick, I'll start with you up there in Milwaukee. Who do you think, the Browns or the Steelers?
The Steelers. They're just a better disciplined team. Jameis Winston's going to make it pretty. They're not going to get caught off guard this time. They're going to be ready.
All right. See, Nick?
All right. Jameis Winston is he's a pick six machine. I agree with Elliot. I agree with, well, maybe not John. But Bobby, this is for you, buddy. Bobby Hammer, I am going finally with Pittsburgh. I hope I'm not Mr. Opposite today.
All right. Kinger?
Man, I don't know. I can't express how or why I don't like Russell Wilson, but I just don't. So I'm going to go with my boy, Jameis Winston, and the Brownies for the upset.
All right.
Coming off the snow globe game where, the Pittsburgh should have had that. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't.
Right.
I think to get it this time.
Okay.
I agree. I think Pittsburgh's the better team. And, let's look at some stats. And let's not speak from Fugazi right out of the air. Pittsburgh, their defense is not going to tread lightly this time. And I think Winston's going to have a really tough time tonight. And I just think that Pittsburgh's going to lay the wood to Cleveland. That loss last week, those players play for Winston. They played for that coach. That's a tough loss, man. So I just think that the talent on Pitt is going to come out. They're going to make a statement. They want to win this game and move on. That's it.
I'm going to jump in the boat with Carl. For our boy Bobby Hamer, I want the Steelers to win, but I want it to be 42-38 and Jameis to throw for 400 yards and lose.
Somebody has to quarterback.
All right, let's move on to the Chargers and the Chiefs. Patrick, you there? What do you think? Do the Chiefs finally have another blemish?
No, they do not. They are playing at home. The Chargers have to travel. Jim Harbaugh's weird ticks. I'll leave it at that. I was going to say Asperger's, but his weird ticks catch up with him on this game. He's not going to pull this one out of his hat. Mahomes is going to be ready. They win. I think they win big.
All right. I like it. See, Nick?
Chiefs have been really, really lucky this year, winning by a point here, blocked field goal kick. They're 11-1. They should win the game, but I don't think they cover. I think San Diego is going to make it close.
I like it.
L.A.
Kinger?
Well, I think you're right. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to go with the Taylor Swift magic and the Andy Reid school of clock management. He's so good at it. So I think the Chiefs are going to pull it out.
I believe the statistics are that Kansas City's won 14 consecutive one-score games, and they have not beaten anybody by more than 14 points. When you play that many close games, sooner or later, it is going to tip the other way. I think Kansas City's a better team this weekend. The Chargers.
I like that. Actually, I like that a lot. Elliot or Johnny?
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I am going to
Get used to agreeing with me. It
agree with the mush because he is the original
What about
mush.
I mean, I'm the first one out of the gates. They picked the Chargers.
That's okay, but
I thought you picked the Chiefs, so I'm the only one that picked the Chiefs, and now I'm the only one.
No,
that
Trick
picked the Chiefs.
All right, thank you.
I think
it's a team.
the Chargers win last week. No, right?
They lost.
They lost.
No, they beat Atlanta.
Oh, they did beat Atlanta. Yes. So
Because Cousins threw like 4 interceptions.
Yeah, and the Chiefs did not cover, correct? The prior game. So
Correct.
So Patrick, yeah, I'm with you. Chiefs cover, definitely. But I do have a lock this week, if anybody wants to hear it.
What's your lock, John?
Why don't you just tell
So
us?
my lock last week was Washington, and I played it. So if anybody wants to know.
Did you make it public to our group,
We
or
didn't-
was this?
We didn't have a show last week.
Could
This
have texted
week,
me.
This week it is, and that game was never even close. Any team that plays against the Bills this week. So, and it is who's playing against the Bills?
The Rams. The
Rams. If Stafford just plays like he can play, and I know I'm saying if, but I have a feeling Rams are due. Bills are due to tank. So
like that
that's the
pick.
game. I'm telling you, the Rams.
Well, I got Nakua, so let's. I like
I mean,
that.
the Rams are going to come out, and the Bills don't really need to win the game. So that's all there is to it.
All right, Trick, give us your power picks for the National Football League.
Better not be the Bills.
It's not. I like the Aints -4 against the G-Men. The G-Men have packed it in. It's done. They're playing on like a 18th backup quarterback. Saints roll, even in cold Giants. KC -4 against the Chargers. And the Bungles. I can't believe I'm doing this, but
Yes.
it's that bad. It's
Yes.
Monday night. The Bungles win -5.
Yes.
All right, so give that back to me real quick. John was talking over you. Give it back to me one more time.
So the Saints -4, KC -4, and the Bengals -5.
Beautiful. Those are Patrick's power picks in the National Football League. All right, that was a quick recap of the National Football League. We'll come back with final thoughts in just a minute. Again, a big shout out to our friend Bobby Hamer at Coastal Title. Bobby, we love you. We'll be back in just a minute with the reality check. Please follow, like, and subscribe.
Bobby and Ruda.
Hammer
Bobby and Ruda. Love you.
Stop texting bad stuff about me.
Welcome back to the reality check. It is time for final thoughts. Great job today, guys. It was great to have Kinger back in studio. Elliot, love you, Hammer. Way to go. Johnny, what's on that mind of yours?
Man,
Kinger,
I tell you what.
I keep seeing that
tell you
ukulele.
what. I tell you what. Right on, right on, right on, as I like to say. You know, a lot of people are sitting at home alone, sitting there in their big angry chair, just all by themselves. A lot of people there were just alone for Thanksgiving. And someone actually told me I had 2 Thanksgivings this Thanksgiving season. I was a little stressed out about it. You know, the cost, the work, the cleanup. But you know, people, a lot of people out there would kill to not be lonely during the holidays and to have family and friends around. So my final thought is, you know, everybody's got to stop being angry and just chill out and love thy neighbor, like the good book says, man. So peace. How about that?
I love you, John.
All right.
I love you.
Very nice.
My man, Elliot, what do we got today? What final thoughts for you this week?
So we're coming up on a very special time of year, special season.
Hanukkah?
Everybody wants to say season's greetings. You can all enjoy the seasons. It's college basketball season. The Maui Invitational was spectacular. The Players Era basketball tournament was spectacular. This year, let me tell you, lots of one and dones. Cooper Flag at Duke, going to be one and done. Rutgers has 2 kids, Ace Bailey and what's the brother, the Harper, or Dylan Harper, spectacular. Maryland's got a 6'10" big man, Derek Queen, dropped 20-20 in his first game, dropped 20 again last night, 5 times with 20 points. Well, you're going to be hearing a lot more from me about college basketball, but just get ready. It's going to be spectacular basketball season.
Hey, what about Hanukkah being on the same day as Christmas this year?
Oh, I know. There'll be more to come.
He's excited.
How
Put a
long
pin
has
in
it
that.
been since that happened?
A few years. It's been a while.
I wanna
Well
know-
done,
I wanna know
Elliot.
the answer to
Well
that.
done, brother. Kinger,
Love
what's
you,
on your
Elliot.
mind?
Love you.
Final thoughts.
All right. This is going a little dark here, but God rest his soul and lots of love to his family. But the CEO of United Healthcare was murdered in Manhattan recently, and I think it speaks to kind of some of the things that the government needs to go after and really digging deep. There's problems in our insurance market in the country, and there's so much money involved in that. We talked about politics early, and now I'm going to end on politics, which is horrible, but there's a lot of things going wrong with that. They really need to look at that. This poor guy had obviously did not deserve to die in the way that he died, but I think it's going to bring out a lot of issues
Regarding healthcare is what
regarding
you're saying.
healthcare
Yeah.
Well,
across the
healthcare in
country
America,
and
yeah.
in the insurance market
Sure.
in general. And if we get to the bottom, there's so much money there. It's just ridiculous.
Well, correct me if
And
I'm
it's
wrong.
corrupt.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we still have, is it 700 million in unpaid claims in the state of Florida in the Fort Myers area from Ian.
And that's just from one hurricane. Right.
So
That can't be 700 million.
it's
That's got to be low. I would think that would be super low.
There's not even 700 million people in the United
There's 360 million people in the United States.
no, but the insurance claims. I'm
No,
talking.
we're talking about
dollar amounts.
dollars of
Dollar amounts,
Oh,
not
all right.
700 million
Sorry to
people
call you
filing.
out.
Scully,
Right.
I guarantee it's in the billions. I bet you it's in the billions.
Maybe it was.
unpaid claims.
It's something ridiculous like
Right,
that.
it's in the billions, but not 700 million.
But those are
claims.
unpaid claims.
Not-
Those are unpaid claims.
Dollar.
Total dollar amount on
amount.
the claims, John.
Got it.
From
Okay.
Ian.
All right.
Not to mention we just had Helene and Milton. All right, Yoda, give me the Yoda's words of wisdom.
All right.
We're not sinning today.
My words of wisdom for today is one man can be a crucial ingredient on a team, but one man cannot make the team. So you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at the Jets. I keep on going back to that. You look at this podcast. We got you, Ms. Scully, right? Our host. If you didn't have this team here, okay, we wouldn't flourish.
We are a team.
I know.
Hey, for
Exactly.
everybody out there, Scully was trying to get rid of Yoda, but we said no.
I'm going to slap you upside your head. It was actually you we're trying to get rid of,
Slap
not
it.
Yoda.
I would
Slap the
never
taste
get
out
rid
your
of my
mouth.
brother. I'm golfing with him this weekend. I can't wait.
We are joined at the hips, brother.
Yes.
We're joined at the
I
hips.
can't-
I love
No
you
way.
both. you
You'll
two
never. I'm not
paisanos.
leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
These two clowns are going to be partners this weekend.
I
Scully.
know. I'll see you guys after. I actually got to work Saturday morning, so we got some. We're going to be. All right, Trick. Give me your what sans your paper, then I'll touch on what I'm doing this weekend.
Awesome. Well, I have two things. One's political and one's sports. So we'll do the political one first. So Sonia, one of our Supreme Court justices, tried to make an
Sotomayor?
analogy. What's that?
Sotomayor.
Yeah. Tried to make an analogy. I only call her by her first name.
Sounds like sans my paper.
Tried to make an analogy that every risk in any medical deal that you do when talking about the transgender for the kids. If you're 18 and you want to cut your foot off, God love you. I don't care what you do when you're 18. But stay away from the kids. There's a reason why they can't get a tattoo. There's a reason why they have to wait till they're 16 to drive. There's a reason why they have to wait till they're 18 to vote. So this whole point, she made an analogy that there's medical risk in taking aspirin. And she tried to equate taking aspirin as a medical risk to children getting mutilated and taking puberty blockers because they're confused at this age. And I just thought that was horrible. I mean, what a horrible analogy to say aspirin's the same as letting these kids do something they're going to regret, or possibly regret. Maybe I should put it that way. What says my paper in sports is I was listening to the ACC network, Homer, saying that regardless of who wins, Clemson or SMU, they should both be in over Alabama. Are you kidding me? I touched on it earlier. If SMU loses, yes, I think they should be in over Alabama. I believe that. I hope you're sitting down, Johnny. I believe they should be in over Alabama simply because their record's better. But if Clemson loses, they need to be, how does one say in Tombstone? Well, bye. So that's what stands on my paper this week. That dude was a homer, smoking crack, and he's a moron.
God love you. God love you. Well, you and Laura have a wonderful dinner tonight at Carnivores. Enjoy Milwaukee with the boys. We hope that Marquette beats Wisconsin. I've just got a couple of things in closing. I'm asking our studio, or our audience, not our live studio audience, it's you knuckleheads, but a big ask. We've got our boy Hogan Hatton, who was our first guest we had on this show, is up for the Pro Bowl and as the long snapper. So go to NFL.com and vote for Hogan, because if he can dominate the fans part of it, and then his play will dictate him making the Pro Bowl as a rookie. We'd love to see an undrafted free agent, maybe possibly have the chance to play in a Super Bowl, but also make the Pro Bowl. We love you, Hoagie. We're voting for you, and we'll vote for you as much. Also, I have a dear friend. He's my son's best friend. He's a young man by the name of Alex Daphnis. Alex was one of the top tight ends in the state of Arizona, and they have a voting procedure out there for the tight end of the year in Arizona. Go on Twitter. My boys are going to post the link here. You're going to see Alex Daphnis. But AD, we got your back. You and Donovan, we're voting for you and Donovan, quarterback of the year and the tight end of the year out there in Arizona, and you followed that lead. And I hope you boys do well. I'm very proud you had a great season for Cactus Shadows. Cactus Shadows High School, also alumni Taylor Lewan from Bussin' with the Boys played. But there's my boy AD. So Alex, we love you. We support you. And that has been a fun show today, guys. I can't thank you enough for filling in, for joining us. Patrick, be safe up in Milwaukee, and we will see you next week on the Reality Check. Have a great week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.